It's not worth it. It's too much.
It is a lot of money. Hey, fucks, by the way. Just talking about AC/DC. I think it'll be worth it because in Gav's position, never having seen AC/DC, it'll be worth it because you'll still get a fucking great show. But I mean, I've seen them twice. Parge, have you seen them? Did you see them with
Yeah,
me?
I mean, we saw them, remember, at Milton Keynes.
Milton Keynes Bowl, wasn't it? That one, yeah, it's that one. So that's the main reason.
That was 22 years ago.
Yeah, 20. Was it 22?
2001.
Wow.
You know. So yeah.
But I had tickets
for
2016.
The Axl Rose one.
When they brought Axl in, when we had the option to get our money back, we just took our money back. So, my brother was really keen. And yes, 100 quid, but everybody's charging that.
Yeah, that's the problem. But I think what irks people though is the face value of the ticket was like 115, wasn't it? And then by the time you chuck on all the fees, it rapidly became 150 quid. So, but
I'd like to know what Wembley Stadium charged for an act like that to use Wembley Stadium, because if you sell it out, which they will probably sell it out,
two dates
twice.
Okay, even if you get 50,000-60,000 in there, that's still a shitload of money.
I think both dates will sell out because it's potentially AC/DC's last ever tour. So I think it is highly possible it'll sell out, and yeah, it'll be a massive money spinner. Of course, it will. There's no doubt about that. But that's the world we live in now.
Your cheapest ticket was 75 quid,
and that's going to be up in the sky,
in the absolute gods, in the middle of nowhere. Then your seated ticket went up to like 160 odd quid, but even a standing ticket was 135. I think in the main section, anywhere near the front, was 150.
Yeah,
begs the question if like our stadium gig's worth it, because there's a big difference between seeing a band in like Wembley Stadium or the Millennium Stadium as opposed to like Milton Keynes Bowl, which is a purpose-built outdoor music venue. And I would imagine that seeing a gig at the Milton Keynes Bowl compared to say Wembley Stadium, it's a much more comfortable experience at Milton Keynes Bowl because you've got, firstly, there's more space. Even a stadium like Wembley, Milton Keynes Bowl is bigger, I would say, because you've got all the stuff at the back.
Yeah, I certainly from just a moving around and a standing point of view, I would imagine so. But I mean, I've been to Wembley twice, but the thing is though, they don't fill these venues anymore anyway. It's not like it used to be back in the day where even in a massive stadium, the standing area would be full. As these days, it's not. It's probably 2/3 full. But once it goes dark and you see the photos and everything, it all just looks full because there's enough people to make it look that way. So obviously health and safety and all that shit, it's nowhere near as full as it used to be. But you're right though, unless you're, quite a long way close to the stage down the front. I don't know. It's the same with places like Hyde Park. I think they're just getting too big.
It's the whole event, isn't it? There's bound to be massive screens both sides, probably a central stage where they can run down the middle and whatnot. And I look at Taylor Swift's latest setup, where
that's two fucking weeks in a row we've brought up Taylor Swift on this podcast.
It's unbelievable.
Did you honestly just bring up a Taylor Swift on a fucking metal podcast?
We did last week as well.
Let's just get some ground rules here, right? Because this is the first time first time you've been allowed on, right, without pre-prepared material. 2, the triumvirate's not present, so you've got to take up a third of the slack. Get your shit together. Know what you're fucking talking about. Drop this Taylor Swift shit. You want to bring up fucking other metal bands that neither of us don't like? That's fair enough. That's metal. But just keep this fucking... And unless you've got an analogy of how close Taylor Swift ever came to thrash, I don't want to fucking hear it.
You'd probably shake it off.
Nah. You can fucking shake yourself off the fucking White Cliffs of Dover, as far as I'm concerned.
Bless her. Anyway, what were you saying before you got rudely interrupted?
There's nothing rude about it. Okay,
in terms of
I have to stand for some reason. The voice isn't here. That reason falls on me.
just in terms of pure stage setup, the video wall that she's got is absolutely incredible. But then the whole of the stage, which comes through the middle, is also a video wall. So all of the floors are video, and that as a spectacle, you know, when it does go dark and you've got 60, 70,000 people in American football stadium, it is an experience, and I think that's what you're paying for, isn't it? It's not just to see the band; it's that whole experience.
I think the only slight downside may be, look, you'll get a show. AC/DC show is fucking, it's mental. It's up there with Kiss and the likes. It's bonkers. It's daft. It's loud. It's just fucking great fun.
I mean, for those about to rock, when you've got the cannons going off,
yeah, exactly. You look, you'll fucking love it. There's no doubt about that. But I think the only possible issue with it maybe is that it's in July and it will probably be finished by 10:30. So a lot of it will be in daylight because it will be a good 2.5 hour set. So you're looking at an 8 o'clock start, and in July you'll have probably a good 2/3 of it in daylight. But then we did at Milton Keynes as well, and we saw them. A good chunk of it was daylight. So I think that was in June. It was even worse. So I remember seeing Springsteen at Wembley Stadium. He started at 6 and finished at 9. The whole fucking thing was in daylight.
It'll probably be boiling hot. So we've chosen a seat out of the way because we're old these days. Not like 20 years ago when I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers in Pride Park in Derby, right down the front, and I swear to God, it was the hottest day ever.
Yeah, it's never nice.
People passing out everywhere, water being passed out from the front. And as they hit their encore, the heavens opened. I've never been so thankful that it rained.
Thing is, though, when you're in your early 20s, you can handle all that. We're getting old now. It's, you know, I wouldn't.
It rained. It rained last Sunday here, and the government announced the national shutdown of all schools on the Monday because it rained on the Sunday. I had the day off.
Fucking hell.
Oh, it's just like, no, actually, I didn't have the day off. I had to teach online, but I was sat at home, and I only had to do fewer classes. But it was just like, because it to be fair, it did actually rain. It was proper rain on the Sunday night. But because they've built the roads here, there's no drainage, there's no sewers, there's nothing. So the rain just stays there, and they can't drive anyway. So let alone drive in rain. So like the amount of like road deaths go up, they spike every time it rains. So yeah, they were just like, no, student safety, can't have them drive into work tomorrow. Shut the fucking country down. I was like, okay, fair enough.
Well, anyway, we are, I suppose, loosely to talk about that. We got Gav back on because, well, why not? And but Gav's on
listen, I just want to go on record. I was not in favour of this. Okay,
absolutely outrageous.
It is a bit. But you know what? Look, this Gav's going through.
It's because he's scared. He's scared to be alone with me ever since the first episode, which is not even on Spotify anymore, and I am deeply offended by.
It's like
that's like Metallica disavowing No Life Till Leather, the demo. Like, I mean, just.
Well, it's probably best that it isn't out in the public domain.
No, it's a perfectly acceptable episode. I'm sorry.
I don't think it is, because we lost the first fucking episode, which was perfectly
and we
acceptable.
basically redid it again. We redid it
and
again
we threw something together, and it was a bag of shit.
And it was perfectly acceptable.
But I actually have no idea why it's not on Spotify, because it's I don't know why. It's within the confines of the hosting, but for some reason, it's not out there. I don't know. It's probably a good thing. But
it's too raw.
You're right.
Too raw for Spotify.
You're right. I don't want to just do an episode with you, because I need someone else in the room to.
They're going to find the tape of that episode in the woods somewhere.
This is what I'm talking
about. It will be out in the woods. It'll be in some fucking hut after he's been out there killing people. But anyway, the reason we got Gav back on again is because, anybody who listens to this podcast fairly regularly will know Gav's been on it a few times. And back in October last year, you had the delightful experience of your first metal show, which was very cool. And it was really good fun. And ever since then, you've been going on this really cool journey that kind of makes me a little bit jealous, because you're sort of discovering all this great music that, it's like something completely new. So it's at our age, that kind of thing doesn't really happen very much. So it's like it's quite fucking good fun, to be honest with you. It's just something a bit different for those of us that are old and grumpy and moan about this and moan about that. This is all good fun. So what I want to know is why, for a start, why the fuck have you chosen this music, noise, as my parents would say, and like, what is it you loved about it, and who is it you're loving? And because you're fucking like K-Man's List on a Friday, you're all over it.
Yeah, absolutely. So where to start, really? I mean, last year came on to specifically talk about some fairly niche stuff. Certainly right up Padre Street with the wrestling one, which was the first one, and then from there, kind of listening to the pod, and then coming back on and doing the movies one, and then having that opportunity to go to the municipal waste gig. I spent a lot of time listening to municipal waste to go to that gig, and then slowly started to kind of listen a bit broader than that. And then I think as it got towards Christmas time and you guys were starting to lay out your top 40 albums of the year, and I started kind of cherry picking albums out of that. Green Lungs, This Heathen Land, absolutely love that. It's one that I've gone back to a couple of times. Obviously Creeper, that's only a couple of weeks ago, where I'm joining you guys down in Margate now to go and see them.
Sunny Margate.
And then speaking to you, Tregenza, kind of just after Christmas, you kind of laid the challenge down to say, right, the challenge is now you need to have a top 20 when we get to the point next year. And that's kind of kicked in my competitive edge, I think, where I've just gone, right, well, I've got to start listening. And where to start? I think, that was the first thing, because I remember the first week of Jan, that year, K-Man lifts out whatever it was, 35 different albums. And I'm looking at it thinking, fucking hell, I haven't listened to 35 albums in probably the last 5 years, let alone in the space of a week. And you start looking through it, and it's death metal this and power metal that and doom metal and all these different sub-genres. And there's just fucking loads. Where do you even start? So I think I even tweeted out to K-Man and said, oh, this is loads. He went, this is a quiet week, mate.
Yeah.
Wait, just wait. And I think that's what's been good then, having you guys around me as a try this. And then if you like this, have a listen to this. And some of it's been new stuff, some of it's been old stuff, to try to get that kind of balance between, this is kind of what you can go and watch, what we could go and see, versus, well, this is, where some of it started.
It's
so
like,
I think that's where we are now.
It has become a little bit Project Gav. And I don't want it to sound like really fucking patronizing, because for one, you've long been a fan of rock music anyway, haven't you? Like Chili Peppers, Spring, and which we all are as well. We all grew up with that kind of stuff. So it's not like you're completely fresh to music as a whole. And we don't want it to sound like we're kind of gatekeeping metal and trying to educate someone as to what's good and what's not. But the fact is that's
exactly what we're doing.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
It is. What do you think I've been doing since fucking 2000 with this cunt?
But that's the difference. You're a cunt. The rest of us aren't. So we welcomed him in, and you've kept the gate.
Yeah, I did. The door's been open for 20 years. And no, you're asking, so how did this start? For me, it's just the complete lack of fucking gratitude and respect. I took him off the fucking street.
You don't deserve it.
You weren't there. You weren't there in 2006, sat in a hard rock in Rock Cafe in Amsterdam, telling him who the big four were, explaining the fucking significance of those four bands, showing him the videos, requesting them to put on music. Okay. This has been a slow build for me. Okay. This is almost the culmination of my life's work, is this person listening to metal. Okay, and I want some fucking recognition.
No, that's like trying to give recognition to a goalkeeper playing out from the back, and we've just come along and we finished it after 20 passes.
No, it's got nothing to do with football.
No one.
That's a shit analogy.
No one cares about your input on this. I think Gav's already listening to more new music than you have done in your entire life.
But that's crap, because at some point I would have listened to all of this stuff that we're feeding him, the older stuff, and at that point we've all been in this position. We've all been in this exact position at different points of our lives. When someone said, "Here's 20 fucking different albums, go and listen to them." That's how I got into this. Someone just literally gave me a stack of tapes and said, "Go and listen to all of this stuff," and I did.
It took you 20 years to listen to 20 albums.
No, it didn't.
What I've been lucky with is, Padre's been there going, right, Maiden, start here, listen to this one, then go listen to this. Pantera, start with Cowboys from Hell, and see what you think of that. Then I've kind of got you, Steve, where I might say to you, "Oh, I quite like this," and you'll immediately say, "Okay, well, try this," or "You might like this." And then even the voice of reason this week, was it Unleash the Archers?
Yeah.
You'll like this. Go and listen to it. And I'm starting to get, and Bean as well, and Nige, all coming in and going, well, you're starting to kind of find out what you think I like, and then feeding in little bits and pieces. And then the community, the metal community on Twitter is just really good, because everybody seems to post, "Oh, I'm listening to this at the minute," or "This is the first time I've listened to this." And just from that, I've listened to different bits and pieces. Like this week, I listened to 3 Inches of Blood.
Fucking yeah.
Which I really liked. And quite frankly, if I hadn't seen whoever it was post that, I would have never have heard of them.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of having that online community now. I suppose 20 years ago when it was message boards, but it's nowadays it's just easy. Everything's at your fingertips. So you've kind of got, it's almost overwhelming. I think it's overwhelming for when you're already a metal fan sometimes.
Well, that's it. I mean, last week I think it was like 40 odd albums. This week it's another 40, and there's no way that you can listen to them all. No. There really isn't. You've got to start, picking ones that you think you like. And I was starting off. I just look at a few of the covers. I quite like that cover. I'll go and have a listen to that.
You know what? That's not a bad way of doing it. And to quote Uncle Mike, if the album looks like either a Judas Priest album or some kind of moody black metal, then it's probably going to be worth at least having a go. So, yeah, I know what you mean. I tend to pick things by album covers these days. Sometimes you can just tell. So yeah.
But with I use Apple Music rather than Spotify. It's all there predominantly. There's a few bits and pieces you might need to jump onto kind of Bandcamp to have a listen to or whatnot, but it's pretty much right there at your fingertips, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I think, because you can be incredibly impatient. And my kids are absolutely terrible. They'll say, "Oh, put on, Apple's top hits." 10 seconds in, "Don't like this one, put on the next one. Put on the next one." And I think when you listen to some of these albums, you can do that. You can make a decision really, really quickly.
Yeah, 10, 20 seconds, and you make an assumption.
And, if I think of some of the kind of death metal, black metal stuff, which certainly would never have been my cup of tea, 6 months ago, I would definitely have listened to 20 seconds of that and gone, "I can't understand the thing they're saying. It's growly noise. It's going in the bin. It's going off, and I'm on to something next." I'm thinking I've just slowly learned now over the last kind of couple of months, you got to give some things a bit of patience. And I think that's how I ended up liking Lord Dying's new album, Clandestine Transcendence, because as that album goes on, there's all sorts going on, all sorts, all the way through. And, that's nearly an hour long, that album. And it's like a full on play in an album. It's like a drama, which just kind of unfolds with all sorts of different vocal tricks and clean vocals and kind of death metal vocals and orchestra stuff. And it's
I need to go back over that, because it really didn't click, but like all the elements that are there, I should fucking love it. It should be up my street, but for some reason it didn't. Maybe it just needs more listens, or maybe I'm being impatient, but I know a lot of people who do love it.
I think that is one thing, isn't it? Is like repeat listens as well, and it does work both ways. Because there was the one album earlier this year with the guy from LA Guns.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
I can't remember what the album was called, but on first listen, I was like, "Oh, this is really good." And I even said to you, this is good. And then I went back a couple of weeks later and I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, actually, it's not quite as good as I thought."
It was Tracy Guns and but I know the one you mean. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It can get to a point where, like, sometimes if it's too good too quick, that's a sign that you probably will get bored of it.
Yeah, but then there's other stuff like is it Necro Weasel, which you sent me? And
that sounds great.
I kind of listened to it first of all, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure." But then there was something there which was saying, "No, go back and have another listen." And then when I've listened again, I've gone, "Actually, that's good." And I think both of you mentioned this the other week, that sometimes you've just got to be in the mood, and it might depend where you play that music. Or the mood that you're in, whether you're in the car, in work, and it's on, in the kitchen, moping around the house, or whatever. The album that you listen to can affect your mood, and your mood can affect your enjoyment of that album. So, sometimes stuff is worth a couple of listens to really get into it, to see whether you like it or not.
That is an interesting one. That, like, Padre, how do you listen to music in that flat? Because you've obviously got fuck all else to do out there. So what do you do if you want to listen to something? Do you just sit there and listen to it, or do you listen to music while you're cooking, or what?
I don't. Well, okay. Usually, I mean, I would listen to music on my walk to work, but I don't walk to work. So, I walk back from work. So at the moment, the times I listen to music are when I'm at the gym, and when if I'm cleaning, if I do work, if I work at home, I listen to music.
But I try and set aside. What you're doing depends on what you listen to as well. Like, if you're working from home, you're not going to listen to fucking Hatebreed or something, are you? If you're working, you're going to listen to something a bit more easygoing.
No. If I'm studying, I actually listen to, like, I want to listen to metal, or I go the other way. Like, I listen to classical music. That's the two things, or classical and opera, or like fucking garish metal. Like, I can study, I can listen to Malevolence, I can listen to Death, listen to Slayer, I can listen to Morbid Angel. It depends, and it's really funny as well. If I'm reading something and making notes, then I want something that's I've heard before. That I can listen to stuff I haven't heard before. If I'm doing something where I actually, like, in terms of studying, where I actually have to sit there and think about it because I don't understand it, then it's better to have stuff I already know.
It's background, isn't it?
Yeah. But what I find is, I think one of the best ways to get people into music is, I mean, back in the day it was mixtapes.
Yeah.
Now it's like those mixed playlists. Because, like, for example, I was listening to Fugitive earlier today, and they've only got the EP out. So on Spotify, it just starts playing stuff that's like recommended for you, and that can go anywhere.
Once that algorithm kicks in, it's a smorgasbord. Then you can get all sorts thrown at you. Yeah.
So this, I don't know if you've heard of this band, Tregenza. So this is a 2021 album, so it's not exactly new, but it's a band called Wraith.
Wraith.
WRA.
Yeah, I've heard them. I've listened to a couple of songs. they came along in that whole. They're a bit like bands like High Command. I have listened, but I haven't. They didn't really sort of. I didn't listen to enough, to be fair. Bit thrashy,
Yeah, I mean,
bit like a cultist thrash, I suppose, is one way of looking at it.
they're like it says. I mean, the Spotify description I don't think really does them justice. It says Wraith is a blackened speed metal band that hails from. I don't even know what that means. Blackened speed metal. Anyway, there were I mean, like speed metal, thrash metal. This is the thing. I don't like this semantic BS when sometimes when it comes to metal. So, like again, it's the use of that word speed metal denotes that they're not thrash metal, but we all know that there's the same. The people in the know that the same bloody thing.
Well, speed metal I suppose speed metal is somewhere between, and this is going to go down a whole different rabbit hole now, isn't it? Speed metal is somewhere between like traditional new wave of British heavy metal and thrash, and it's like the bridge in between. It's like not as heavy as thrash, and it's faster than new wave of British heavy metal.
I mean, back in the day, Megadeth referred to themselves as speed metal. So
state of the art speed metal.
State of the art speed metal. But no, like I said, the whole point is just like the song "Undo the Chains" by Ray. There's a riff at the end of that, and it just when that riff kicked in, I had to pull my phone out of my pocket because I was walking into the supermarket and actually look at the song and click follow. So that's a band I'm going to go back and listen to. Now, I don't know if they're not probably going to become one of my all-time favorite bands, but that's definitely something that's going to go into a mix playlist at some point because it's different.
Yeah.
And just to keep you off my fucking back. But yeah, so there was. I mean, even actually just listening to Fugitive. I think I heard them before you recommended them because again it was that album because I was listening to Power Trip and then that gets dropped into the So yeah, I mean I think I like that aspect of Spotify because you don't know where it's going to take you. So I think that's a good way. I mean, and then also you've got so many different playlists on Spotify. So best of the 90s, best of 91, best of 94, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's great.
Songs that, and then you've even got the playlist like songs that influenced Metallica or songs that influenced this, and then you go on that playlist and you've got Sabbath, Priest, or the new wave of British heavy metal stuff. So
those playlists are perfect for when, like you say, when you're walking somewhere or something, you don't know what to listen to, and you just stick on something like that. Inevitably, it's going to all be stuff you like anyway, or you might hear something new. So,
yeah,
it's just everything's at your fingertips. It's you can't knock it really. Gav, do you find that listening to more aggressive music has changed your driving when you listen to the car?
No, not really. No, I might walk the dog a bit quicker. I have found the dog walk is actually a really good chance to just put a couple of albums on and where you can just shut off and just dog has a run around the field and whatnot and you're in your own little world. That's a good opportunity to probably listen to some stuff.
That's it's similar to working out in the gym, isn't it? You just kind of get in your own. I mean, I only work out at home, so whenever we work out at home, I always put vinyl on because I don't know, it's just something because it's an opportunity just to listen to stuff on record and it makes a nice change. So
yeah, I've had it a couple of times in the last few weeks where I've said, I'm going to take the dog for a walk, and then one of the kids has come, I'll come with you, and I'm like, oh, really? But Matilda came with me the other day, and luckily she took her scooter and she's scooting off, and I was listening to Heretic, Filthy Hymns for Sleazy Demons.
Oh, that album.
Just cracking up laughing, and then she's turning around, what are you laughing at? And I'm just like, I can't really tell you. But
Padre, I think I will I'll ping you a link for that. I think you need to get on it because I don't know what it is, to be honest with you, but it's
I've got to say one of the things that have borne fruit for me recently was the playlist on Spotify, London Metal Coalition.
Yeah, shout out to them. Actually, what they're doing as a whole is a really cool thing. And yeah, when they're putting together playlists of the bands that they're involved with and whatnot, that's a really
So, like for example,
really cool
Worship of Sacrifice, Hullbird, Thrasher Wolf, Clutch, and is it Wargrave? Those bands, I was like, again, they stopped. I had to stop, pull my phone out of my pocket, and just be like, I need to block that.
But that's the community again. That's like what you're talking about with Twitter. There are these communities, and it isn't just online. You know, I mean, the London Metal Coalition, for what little I know about it, there's about, I think it's about 50 bands, and there's loads of people and fans and whatnot, and it's all about putting on shows and you know, co-promoting and promoting each other and all that kind of thing. It's a very, very cool way of just, you know, giving, you know, part-time bands exposure and getting gigs and things like that. It's just, it's almost like it's utilizing the digitalization of music for good. You know, kind of, you just have to accept now that bands aren't going to make a living out of making and selling music. You know, it's not going to happen. So you embrace it in other ways. And you know, stuff like London Metal Coalition have got that nailed down. So, you know, yeah, I've asked a couple of them to come on the podcast and talk about
All
it.
I want to know from Evans is any particular like riffs that have stuck in your mind or solos?
So I think this is where I listen to stuff at the minute, and I'm probably still at a point where I don't know why I like some stuff. But I think that'll come, you know, like, and the variety that is out there is ridiculous when you start looking at all of the kind of subgenres and whatnot. And sometimes, you know, you look at K-Man's list and it'll start to say it's, you know, orchestral power progressive metal and, you know, all of this other stuff. And then Apple is really not very good at categorizing any of it, if I'm honest. It's either metal or death metal, and then you'll listen to the death metal stuff and you'll think, no, this isn't really death metal. In terms of, you know, stuff I've really liked this year, like I love the Lucifer album. Yeah, you know, I have bought that on vinyl. And I think, you know, a lot of that I think is kind of chorus driven as well. So it does.
It all comes back to good songs.
Yeah, you've really got kind of good kind of hooks in the middle. And then a shout out to a band Vexus, who dropped me a message on Twitter the other day. And I would, you know, again, I'd never have heard of these guys without K-Man. They've got a song on their End of the Line debut album called War is Peace, where I've just found myself singing that. It's an absolute earworm. Great riff, great chorus. And this Vexus band is just one guy on his own who's done the whole lot, which I just think is absolutely incredible. Like, unbelievable thing to do all in your own. He's 23.
I listened to that. I listened to that stuff because you sent it to me. Yeah, I think you're right. Good riffs, but I'm not sure if there's enough in between the riffs to hold it all together. I said I've had another listen.
Yeah,
yeah, it's gonna. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough there for me personally.
For a debut album, you know, like I said, all on his own, hell of an effort. And I do think there's a couple of real standout songs. I think, you know, End of the Line and War is Peace are both really good. It's a really strong opening to that album. Really strong.
Any sort of one man metal project is always such a fucking cool thing that someone does the whole works. You know, you shout out to the likes of like Seven Doors and even up to the levels of the likes of Isan. You know, his new one is just like this fucking masterpiece of progressive orchestral, as we've been talking about, black metal essentially, but all coming from the brain of one person is something else. And we're not talking about people like Dave Mustaine, who, you know, Megadeth is essentially a one-man project, but these guys that just do everything. They can lock themselves away and just do the whole lot.
Yeah.
It makes you a little bit sick, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
that's great stuff.
that orchestral version of that album that's come out this morning is just epic. I mean, it could be a film score. It's I read a description of what he'd said that it was supposed to be, and each album is a complete story, and although they kind of interlink, each one is its own kind of separate entity and its own story. And it feels like it. You feel like when you've listened to it, you've been on a journey.
Yeah, it is. I haven't listened to the orchestral version. I've listened to a couple of tracks, but I'll probably give that a run in the car tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, look, the metal version is orchestral enough by itself. That's got all the fucking pomp and drama that you would expect, and it's the closest Padre. It's the closest thing that Isan is going to do to a new Emperor album easily. It's not a million miles away from Prometheus. You're basically taking an album like Prometheus and taking away the death metal element, and that's what you've got left. But it just sounds massive. All Isan solo stuff is really cool, and it ebbs and flows, and there's loads of different stuff going on. He's like a black metal Devin Townsend, but this new one is, it's just another level. I think it's crazy,
and I think that's a good one where I listened to the orchestral one first, really liked it. Listened to the metal one second, liked some of it. I preferred kind of the end, maybe 3 or 4 tracks where maybe kind of some of the vocals soften a bit. But I need to go and listen to it again, and I will go and listen to it again, because it does need, I think, probably a couple of repeat listens to really get all of it. Because like you said, I mean, there's shitloads of stuff going on.
But it's when even when you listen to it first and you're like thinking, that's going to take some more listens, but it's just going to carry on, digging its way into your brain, and those are the ones that stick with you.
Yeah.
I go back to some of the albums last year, some of my favorite albums from last year that were in my top 40, a big chunk of them were from earlier in the year that obviously stuck around for the entire kind of 12 months. So, there is some sort of validity to that. What's been favorite album of the year so far then?
I think it's probably Lucifer.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
And the more people that keep nagging them is the sooner we're going to find out when this UK gig is.
Look, every day.
Yeah.
Every fucking day until they get absolutely fucking pig sick of it. I will keep doing it. Even if I forget one day, I'll do 2 in a day just to make sure. But the sooner they get over it, the better. All 5 albums are just so fucking cool. But the new one, we've already spoken about it, but it's just such a great collection of songs. It's got great choruses. You've got those great Iommi-esque riffs. Everything you want from that kind of retro sound, and they've got the full works. They've just properly nailed it, and I can't wait to see them. Jealous side, you caught them last week, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean that's right up there. I do think Lord Dying is one that I've just gone back to and back to and back to. It's in the library, and I'm sure I'll be listening to that, more throughout the year. So that could be one that just, like you said, hangs around and is still there, being listened to towards the end of the year.
Lingers.
Yeah.
Lingers like a bad smell.
I mean, in terms of kind of a bit more fun stuff, Filthy Hymns for Sleazy Demons is one I'll definitely go back to, just because it's just really a good, fun album. I have liked Swallowed by Hell, Morbid Saint as well, for a bit of thrash. There's definitely elements of Municipal Waste in there. When I've listened to that, Burn Pit is a good song, and Bleed Them Dry as well on that album. Liking that.
I haven't given that a proper spin yet, actually. I need to. It's sat in my library, but I haven't touched it yet. A couple of songs, but that's about it. But then again, they're a proper legacy band. They're one of those early kind of thrash crossover bands. So, they've earned their stripes, so to speak.
Yeah, I think there's been quite a lot of that out early this year, isn't there? So, you've had Saxon going to release a new album. And there was a few others where I've kind of gone, oh, I've listened to this, and you've gone, yeah, but you need to go back 25 years and listen to this.
I don't want to do that too much though, because there are bands that are putting stuff out now, and like, you know, specific names escape me to a certain extent, but that are doing their best material now. You know, they've been around for 25, 30 plus years. Like the new Mortar Scold album, for instance, they're a band that've been around for about 30 years now. And the new one that's out in a couple of weeks is a fucking killer. It's an absolute fucking killer of an album. So I've just got into Suffocation, a band that I've tried several times before, but they've never really flicked my switch. The 90s stuff is too, you know, sort of throwaway death metal for me. But the last 3 albums have just properly fucking clicked. So it's easy to disregard a band's newer material and just go back, oh, you've got to listen to the first 2 albums. It's not always the case. Sometimes what they're doing now, they're just stepping up their game.
No, you're right. It's not always the case. But again, what we're talking about here in terms of people's taste and what they will like and won't like is incredibly subjective.
Yeah,
right?
completely.
So
yeah,
you're not gonna like. There are bands that you listen to that I will never listen to. Okay, except and that's the same for you, as the same way as for Gav. But I think if someone is getting into the genre, then you're very much like, you know, it's very much like fucking Dante's Inferno. You're like Virgil, kind of like guiding him through the fucking 7 circles of hell.
yes.
I mean, because there is a lot of shit, and I think our job is to say, look, there's all of this stuff. You definitely at some point should go away and give it a listen to it, and that's not. And you know, some people might argue that's being elitist. It's not. Being elitist would then be, elitist would then be, well, if you don't like that, you're not a proper metal fan, even though secretly you know it's true. So like, for example, saying go, I said to Gav a while back, go listen to Power Slave. Just that was, he was like randomly like, what do you recommend? I just said, just listen. And I was thinking, and like that was an album that just popped in my head. And I thought, no, just go. I said, listen to Power Slave, and then if you like that, go and listen to Live After Death.
Yeah.
You know, with Pantera as well. I said Cowboys from Hell. Other people might have said Vulgar Display or Far Beyond Driven.
I would agree with Cowboys.
I don't think Gav was over the moon with Cowboys. I mean, there was a couple of tracks in that. But what did you think of 101 Live Proof, the live album?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, Pantera so a lot of the stuff comes to life on that album, doesn't it? Like songs like Cemetery Gates, for instance, is a different animal on the live album.
Yeah. So, you know, and I think as well, you've got to you can like pop music. And if you like the Backstreet Boys, it doesn't matter if you've never heard New Kids on the Block. It makes no fucking difference. It doesn't matter if you never listened to the Bay City Rollers or Bucks Fizz or any of those fucking shit pop acts in the 1980s. Yeah, it doesn't matter because none of them are in. These dickheads might say, "Oh yeah, they without Backstreet Boys, without New Kids on the Block, you'd never have to take that and Backstreet Boys and NSYNC." Who gives a shit? They're cookie cutter. They would have emerged at some point anyway. But you know how you're going to have a much better or a much more subtle appreciation for new wave of traditional metal or thrash metal if you've listened to Kill 'Em All and Peace Cells and Rain in Blood and Testament and Exodus and all that kind of stuff. Even if you don't love it and you like the new stuff, the new band's better. You've got an appreciation for it, where it comes from. And it's like Dave from Metal City Records saying, people with dirty shoes standing on the shoulders of giants. Heritage matters in metal. Tradition matters in metal. It's a community. We have set standards. We have like pillars of the community, as it were. And some of those are bands, some of those are fashion statements, some of those are behaviors. And it matters, and it's a heritage, and you pass it on to the next generation.
And that passing
That's
on,
what we do.
it's probably easier now. And again, coming back to the kind of the streaming platforms, because you can say, this album came out in, say, so I mean, we were talking on Twitter, when we all of us the other day, around Creator, 2001, start there. And then you go into Apple Music and everything's there, the whole lot. Same with Halloween, where I was like, right, I've heard of this band, where do I start? Now, the thing is, for me, I've got no points of reference on a lot of this stuff. So, you know, I bring up Taylor Swift because that's something I know, and it's been, you know, culturally, I'm culturally aware of that. But I haven't got some of the more, you know, in-depth reference points where I would listen to a song and go, well, that sounds like X, now you should go and listen to this. And this is where you guys are really helping. And it's absolutely not being gatekeepers of it or teacher-student type thing. It is probably, like you call it up front, Tregenza, fun for me to be able to kind of come to you and just say, well, I've listened to this and I really quite like it. What else do you think? I mean, we did it with one the other day, and it was a female-led metal band, and I was just like, oh, the only point of reference that I've really got is Evanescence, and that's just me being honest. And then from there, you've said, well, you should go and listen to, you know, XYZ, and I've kind of gone off and spent the day kind of, you know, listening to a few different bits and bobs there. Luna Coil.
It was Lacuna Coil.
One of the best things about the heavy metal community is that when someone like Gav comes along and says the only favorite reference I've got is Evanescence, is that, you know, we would never judge those people.
You fucking would.
Openly.
You of all people.
Openly. You know, I mean, Gav hasn't seen the WhatsApp chain we've got. What shit Evans has listened to this week?
I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be offended.
What is cool about going backwards, though, is like it gets to the point where, as you start to really get into certain bands, and you can then go back and you can start to see that the evolution from where they became, like Metallica, the perfect example. You know, Kill 'Em All is this rough, raw, you know, kids in a garage kind of thing. And as they go along, you can see how they've evolved as songwriters, as musicians, like the production gets better. Well, up to Justice, but there you go. But the evolution between Kill 'Em All and Master of Puppets in the space of 3 years is almost inhuman, how you go from that to that in terms of, you know, both great albums in their own right, but from an evolution point of view and a songwriting point of view, it's like, fuck me. They're like early to mid-20s and making Master of Puppets. Same with Ride the Lightning. Who the fuck writes a song like Fade to Black when they're 22, 23 years old?
Yeah.
But you get to see that evolution, and that band then become the Black Album and so on and so forth. And there's so many bands out there like that. Mastodon are a great one for that. You know, their debut album Remission is one of my all-time favorite albums, but it's a completely different album to everything else they've done, and they've evolved and changed and twisted and turned throughout their entire career, but you can hear an evolution throughout all of it. So yeah, it's just a whole fucking world at your feet.
He's right. I mean, it's the same with Sabbath as well, though, isn't it? Those first priests, they're all, you know. Okay, Gav. So, you know, when we're talking about like some kind of like student teacher moment, I mean, I think it's fair enough. You've listened to enough metal now that we can give you some kind of assessment. So we've got a quiz for you. Let's see.
No, you've got a quiz. I have no part in this whatsoever.
But you've acquiesced to this, Tregenza, okay? And basically, if you don't perform well on this quiz, then we're going to have to put you into remedial classes, okay?
You really are a cruel bastard, aren't you?
Yeah, I listen. I haven't made it that difficult.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to share the link with you.
Well, hang on. Is this going to get complicated? Does this work on an audio podcast?
Well, I'll read it out. But
the worst thing is he's got a picture round.
No, I haven't actually. I came this close to doing almost catchphrase with him because I just wanted to be like, just say what you see.
Right, this is just going to get.
Oh my God, he's got a proper game show of it and everything.
I think I will get a photo of this for social media purposes, so everyone can see exactly.
Maybe close the porn down.
Whoa, fucking hell! Jesus fucking Christ!
I forgot that was up.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Is this what your students have to put up with?
You don't need to cut that out. I've got no shame. Yeah. Listen, the wife's actually just gonna. I'm gonna set this up in a minute. Yeah, he's probably texting my message now.
Unfucking believable.
It's because I've got so many fucking.
It's because you've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
How are you managing to get around the firewalls in Saudi with that?
Oh, mate. Okay, so I have to have. They've just cracked down on VPNs, right? So I managed to find like one of these like lesser known VPNs. So I've got to use a VPN to unlock my VPN.
Oh, okay. I can't believe what we've just witnessed.
Oh, I'm dreading.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Right, mate,
I'll read out the questions. So, which band's lead guitarist was Dimebag Darrell? And that's a typo. Down, Corrosion of Conformity, Pantera, or Machine Head? Now, you've got a 50-50. You can get a double score, or we can give you extra time.
B.
Corrosion of Conformity. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Right. You can also phone a friend, your friend being Tregenza at this point, okay? So you said Corrosion of Conformity. That was wrong.
Great.
Which thrash metal legend played with Megadeth in their early days? Jeff Hanneman, Kirk Hammett, Scott Ian, or Kerry King? I would strongly advise you to phone a friend.
There would be a lot of people who've been into metal for 30 plus years who wouldn't necessarily know that.
I'll go with Kerry King.
And that is correct. Well done.
I did see that in the news the other day. So,
right, and you're on 100 points. That's £100 in your hand, plus a £10 time bonus. Tregenza will give you the money.
What about my bus fare home?
Who headlined Donington Monsters of Rock in 1988? AC/DC, Van Halen, Iron Maiden, or Metallica?
Oh.
We can have a 50-50 extra time.
Metallica.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is not correct. It was Iron Maiden.
I can't believe we resorted to this.
Bonus round.
Bonus round.
Flick a card, and you'll get extra points. There you go. 100-point bonus.
This is just the best content we've ever done.
That's probably the only other points I'm going to get.
No, Black Sabbath's debut album was called A, Paranoid, B, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, C, Black Sabbath, or D, War Pigs?
Black Sabbath.
Correct.
Another 100 points.
Talk about yourselves, listeners.
127 points. Evans is flying. Question 5, get ready.
How many questions are there?
Which band released the album Screaming for Vengeance in 1982? Metallica, Black Sabbath, Slayer, or Judas Priest?
I know this. Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Nice.
How many questions are there?
10.
Oh, 10. Fucking hell.
It's all right. We're halfway.
He's doing well. He's on over 50%, which is the name of the lead vocalist.
Oh, you're gonna have to guess.
I put that one in just to take the piss out of Tregenza, so the answer is D. James LeBron.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll give you that one. That's just said and take the piss.
Fuck you.
Second bonus round.
It's a bonus round that no one can see.
It doesn't matter. Like we can put this up in the links if anyone wants it. We'll post it on Twitter.
It's like winning a speedboat on Bullseye when you live in Tamworth.
Take it back, boys. Take it back. Shit out.
Shit out.
The Norwegian black metal band Mayhem is infamous for the murder of one of its members. Who was the victim? Euronymous, Varg Vikernes, Camp Grishnag, or Hellhammer?
It's got to be C.
You sure? Do you want to take a 50-50?
Go on, yeah, 50-50 then. I'm going
The
Grishnag.
victim, not the murderer.
Oh, erroneous then.
Euronymous. Yeah, correct.
Unbelievable.
See, all of that time playing was it WrestleMania 2000 on the Nintendo 64, where Padre had created
He did, didn't he?
as his own character.
And it's the last Sepultura album to feature Max Cavalera. KSAD, Roots, or Eyes Are Against?
I'll phone a friend.
Yeah, Steve, what was it?
It's fucking Roots.
Right.
I'm smashing this.
Yes, he's doing well. 91 points. Good.
Right. We're 2 left.
Who was the lead guitarist on the Ozzy Osbourne albums Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman? A. Gary Moore, B. Tony Iommi, C. Randy Rhoads, or D. Richie Blackmore?
I'm gonna go Iommi.
No, unfortunately, it was Randy Rhoads.
Okay, fair enough.
And the last bonus.
No. What the fuck?
I want that 50-50 lifeline. Hang on, I want another 50-50 lifeline.
Yeah, there we go.
Yay!
You've got
right.
So last question.
Right, I want all of the lifelines.
Padre lost his trainers, and Tregenza almost lost his front teeth in the mosh pit watching which band a big day out in '99. Was it Monster Magnet, Slayer, Sepultura, or Cold Chamber? We'll take a 50-50.
We'll take a 50-50. We'll double the score.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right.
I'm going Slayer.
Or Slayer. Okay, are you sure?
I'm going Slayer. Well, I'm not sure. No, it's a guess.
No, it was Monster Magnet.
Oh, bugger.
Slayer weren't at Big Day Out. Okay, let's look at the final score.
That was a fairly niche last question.
Yeah. So 891 points. So over 80%, which the pass mark was 65. So you're welcome back on this podcast. And the next time you come back on, there'll be the second formative assessment.
Unfucking believable.
Hooray.
So what we'll do is we'll post that quiz on Twitter, and our listeners are more than welcome to have a go at it.
Unbelievable.
I'm very pleased with that score. I've got to be honest. Couple of guesses.
It does beg a question though, like that last. Is it question number 8 or 9? Like maybe it might be a good idea, and that's another suggestion we can make is listen to those especially Blizzard of Oz. It's a good album. It's worth listening to.
Yeah, Ozzy solo stuff. It is. It's definitely worth listening to. So, but I don't even know where we're going to go from that. That's the most nonsensical thing I've ever done on an audio podcast.
We've got to have Padres.
I'm a maverick. There's no knowing which way I'm going to go. Like this is why at some point we need to migrate onto YouTube.
I think what we might do is do a quiz for you. See how far
do it. No, do it. It's fine.
On music released in 2024.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
anything between 94 and 2024. Well, I mean, I don't even fucking know anymore.
I think.
Yeah,
I think you come back on in about 4 or 5 months' time, and you tell us how the journey's going. In between, and if anyone's got any recommendations for Gav, they can post them on Twitter or send them to us on Instagram, and we can pass them on.
There is the Project Gav playlist, which is knocking about on Spotify, and you can find the link on. So if anybody wants to collaborate with that, then let me know and give you the access, and you can chuck stuff on there because we all love doing this kind of shit.
I just want to give obviously a shout out to Dave from Chupacabra for
Nige.
Are you pissed?
Nigel, sorry. I thought it was Dave. Sorry, Nigel.
Right.
I missed the episode when they came on.
Dave is Black City Records.
Black City, yeah. For apparently I made him spit his tea out with my PG Tips quote. So, and he's talking about a list of Padreisms, which I'm more than favour. Someone else needs to do it. I can't do it, otherwise it's just egocentric.
Yeah, because that wouldn't come from you at all, would it?
Top 10 Padre quote.
It's my alter ego. The person behind Padre is a lot more relaxed.
I think we may as well just shut this down now before it gets even more out of hand. But fuck me.
What's this got out of hand? We've tested his metal knowledge. Okay, this is a reflection on us as guides, teachers, shepherds. Okay,
yeah,
and so we're obviously doing something right.
There's no point in reflecting on your efforts, though. It's taken you 20 years and you get nowhere, where the rest of us just, 6 months and he's a fully fledged metalhead. So, what influence have you had?
Well, the fact he's on this podcast for one.
Well, this is true. I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. Give you that one.
For the fact is that I've been at a lighthouse for the last 23 years in his life, guiding him to the right path. It's taken him a long time, but he's finally got there.
Unbelievable.
And we got a few things lined up. So yeah, Creepers. I think the 15th of March. That'll be good.
Honestly, I can't fucking wait for that one. It's in a small venue as well, so that'll be really cool. And yeah, I haven't actually listened to Creeper this year at all. I haven't listened to that album once this year, and I think I'm almost going to keep it that way until that night, because I love that album so much that I think I'm just gonna go cold turkey and then let it all out that night, because I think it'll be more fun that way. And
nice,
a bit of a jolly trip to the seaside, isn't it? It's a fucking long drive for you as well, so fair play.
At gigs like that, do you reckon it'd be a good idea to do like that kind of quiz we just did as a support act? just to keep it like no seriously, like thinking about it, if you're at a gig, right, and like this like stupid quiz came up on a massive screen and you could like log onto it with your phone, like Kahoot or something, and just do it while we wait for the band, that would be a good laugh.
Fuck it out. You know what? If yeah,
we'll get in touch with Creeper and we'll ask them if they're interested in.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. But there is potentially an opportunity where that could happen. So, you know what? Leave that with me. There might be something that might be a bit of a laugh. I'll give you that. That might be good fun. So
April Tail Gunner are coming to Cardiff, which came as a bit of a surprise last week when I looked. So hoping to go and see them.
When are they coming?
April 18th, I think it is.
It's the night before we're all in Bristol, isn't it?
Yeah, and then that weekend, then we're meeting up again in Bristol with.
We'll be celebrating 3 years of Black City Records.
Yeah, so there's from going from the one municipal waste gig, I've got a few bits and bobs lined up, and then AC/DC now in July as well.
And there will be plenty more yet.
And hopefully Lucifer.
Well,
come on.
After what was it, day 2 or day 3 of me posting that, they responded and said there will be a UK show this year. So, but I'm not going to let up. I'll keep on going. Right. Anyway, look, let's stop it there and rein him in, because this is all getting a bit out of hand. Right.
I've got a quiz with your name on it at some point. Okay. It's all going to be about Dream Theater.
You know what? I was scrolling through eBay earlier, just like looking through metal vinyl, sort of like on an ending soonest kind of thing. And Dream Theater's Scenes from a Metropolis Part 2 was on there with like about 10 minutes to go, and it was 105 quid. 105 quid for a bit of Dream Theater vinyl. And that had bids as well. That wasn't just a starting price. That would bids up to that. In fact, you know what? Let me have a look and see what it sold for.
Yeah, you've banned their name from this podcast, and you've just openly brought them into the podcast yourself.
I've banned a lot of things from this podcast, and no one seems to listen, so may as well just get on with it.
You're going to wake up one day, and Dream Theater are going to be under your pillow.
Dear God, can you imagine that? Right. Okay, so this album, Dream Theaters Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory, double LP, sold this evening for £196.07.
Wow.
I mean, I know inflation's out of hand, but that's just ridiculous.
Just ashamed, I think is the way to put that. Fucking
I mean,
ashamed.
if you've got that much money to spend on that vinyl, then you've got no sense, really.
No.
I mean,
it almost puts a bit of a downer on the end of the podcast because
I think I've actually listened to one song by that band in my entire life, and I was like, no.
Yeah, that's enough. But we need to stop talking about it because it's gone too far. Right. Anyway, right. We haven't got a normal episode next week because I'll be going to Suffocation and Sanguisugabog. And we may have the odd interview knocking about in the next couple of weeks, and then I think we'll be back to normal in about a fortnight's time. So we will catch you then. But we'll have the voice of reason back as well. So maybe things will be a little bit more under control. There'll be a little bit less nonsense and pointless quizzes that no one.
There is no way he would have brought any sense of order to tonight's episode.
Of course, he fucking would have done.
This episode is a force of nature.
Yeah, you're a force of fucking nature. So, but yeah, until that point, we will be back at some point in the next couple of weeks. I don't know when, but we will be. So until that point, stay metal and don't listen to a fucking word he says. You'll be much better off for it.